Okay. Okay. Hey, welcome back. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Oh, my roots are showing. Speaking of roots, I got my little natural hair back out here. Y'all, look at this, though. Like, this is the pageantry right here. Damn, Gina. Thank you so much for joining me again this week on Mr. Larrie's Craft Show. I am as colorful as I can be today because why not? We could all use a little more color, which is a damn good segue into what we're talking about today. Our craft this week is tie-dye. Tie-dye. Tie-dyeing. I'm surprised I'm not wearing any right now, actually. That would be thematic. You've probably done it before, maybe in school as a child, or maybe you've just been waiting for that golden moment to strike you, where you've been given permission to try and make your own beautiful tie-dyed creation. Well, today is that day. But first, there are 3 things I think you should know before we get started on our craft journey today into tie-dye. Tie-dye. Tying, dyeing. Tying and dyeing. Let's get tying and dyeing after the 3 things. Thing number now. Thing number 1. Tie-dye is a hugely popular technique used for customizing garments, housewares, and fabrics for all use. As with most crafts, this process has roots that are global and span a long period of time. However, in its most basic form, using primary colors and psychedelic motifs, tie-dye tends to feel as American as it gets. Hey friend. That brings us to thing number 2. You can thank the Summer of Love, 1967, Woodstock, and generally the late 1960s for this. Tie-dye became a staple for both hippies and housewives alike throughout the 60s, and that popularity persisted up till today. Perhaps that's because tie-dye tends to come across as relaxed, friendly, creative, and super positive. Thing number 3. To achieve said good vibes, you only need a handful of things. Number 1, you'll need something to dye. In my case, I'm using a white t-shirt. You'll also need some kind of dye. The most popular tend to be pre-mixed liquid or powder cellulose reactive dyes. So I'm using this Create Basics kit, which is really just a knockoff of a tulip kit that you can find pretty much any place. You'll need something to resist the dye. Rubber bands are always the popular choice. And in my project today, I'll be using soda ash, which you can buy separately. This is Tulip brand soda ash. It helps to intensify the colors that you use. It's certainly not necessary, but it does help a little bit. And that's pretty cheap. It's only like $4 or $5. I'll be using the instructions that came with my kit of dye. And it basically just tells you to pre-mix the dye in the bottles that we have here. And then this kit in particular, and I believe the tulip kits as well, takes 6 to 8 hours for the dye to process. So just be sure that you are prepared for a little bit of time. You'll also need either plastic wrap or something to put your piece in to keep it from drying out during those 6 to 8 hours. So I'm using this plastic bin that has a lid. So we'll use the rubber bands to resist the dye on the fabric. And if you apply that logic deliberately, you can design your own looks in no time. So let's get started with our soda ash bath. This will be the first step for my project. So these instructions are pretty clear. You just fill a bucket with about 1 gallon of water and stir in 1 packet of the soda ash until it dissolves. And then we will soak our fabric for 20 minutes. And then it'll be ready for us to dye. The next thing I need to do is wring this out so that we can then prepare it for dyeing. Just gonna squeeze out all this excess moisture, but I wanna make sure that the shirt is not dried out. Just make sure that you get as much of the moisture out of the shirt as possible or out of the fabric as possible. That'll make it easier for you to get the rubber bands around it. which is what we are going to do next. I'll show you three different techniques that I feel are pretty simple. The first of which are just your basic stripes. You can choose to make these stripes either vertically or horizontally, depending on what your flavor is. And I think that you could start by simply scrunching all the fabric together, or by deliberately doing like an accordion fold if you want to have spaces that are similar. And from here, I would simply take a rubber band and wrap it around the fabric tightly, perhaps every few inches. Maybe I'll space them out as they go and they'll get tighter or closer together. I would continue this same idea all the way up and then apply my dye to that. Another method you've likely seen before is a bullseye, where you might select from a single point or from several points, and as you pull the fabric up, just sort of make a peak and then tie a band around and then continue that same idea. So this is going to give you concentric circles, and you could still do a variety of colors or along the circles, or you could apply your color and stripes, whatever you like, and eventually you would continue all the way down your shirt. You could also do more than one by having a few points throughout your shirt do the same thing. And then you could apply dye to something like this, and then it would come out with some really cool bullseyes all around. I want to show you one that I feel is the most classic of Western tie-dye techniques, which is the spiral. Your spiral will start from wherever you like, most traditionally from the center. I like to aim for the heart or so, and then I'll grab my shirt and start to twist to make a spiral. I also want to make sure that as I'm twisting, I try to keep it all very flat, because you want to see concentric rings start to form. That's how you know you got a good spiral in there. You can start to push the other fabric around your spiral, and I actually kind of twist it to get that really cool psychedelic warped effect. From here, I want to just kind of tighten this up as much as I can. Now what I want to do is place rubber bands across the whole thing, and it's going to get scrunched up a lot. I'm going to try and maintain the flatness of my little rosette here by pushing the fabric around as I need to. I'm going to double wrap these so that my resist will be a little bit wider. But at this point, you could sort of do whatever feels right for your project. I'm going to use these gaps to give me different segments of color that will hopefully pinwheel out from the center point. I now have a lovely shirt puck. So the next thing to do is to apply the actual dye. So I'm going to fill these bottles up with water, and I'll be right back. And I'm just going to squirt directly into these little spots here and try to get some deep in there as well. I'm just using a little extra dye to make sure that it penetrates through all of the layers of fabric. So I'm just going to place the lid on this once I'm done, and then let it sit for 8 hours. I'm wearing gloves for the rinse just because I want to make sure that I don't stain my hands or anything. And I'm just going to take this out and plop it directly into the sink. As you remove your rubber bands, just be careful that you don't pop any of the liquid dye back onto yourself or onto surfaces nearby. You might want to remove them inside a plastic bag or something, or maybe even try snipping them off instead. I can already see that there are a lot more white spaces than I intended, but I'm honestly kind of okay with this look. It gives it a brighter look, and I'm really into pastels and bright colors anyway, so this works for me. I may attempt to re-dye it by re-twisting it and then applying more dye, but for now I got the spiral I wanted and I'm very happy. I hope you guys had a good time today. I hope you enjoyed tying and dyeing, and I'd love to see what you come up with on your own. So please share with me what you guys make and what your ideas are for our next video. I'll see you next Friday. Bye. Hey friend, my name is Rhododendron, and I'm here to wish you the best weekend of your life, the most far out weekend you can imagine. You can do that. It's easy. Just fall into it, man. You got this. I love you, I support you, I see you, and I hope you have a wonderful day ahead of you. I really do. I just met a friend today. Guess what? It's you.